I'm leaving this place with a sense of grace and hope for our future and our nation.
Perfect. That's it. Thank you.
In our country today.
In today's political climate, to be in a group like this, it's just amazing.
We want to reduce that polarization, bring people together.
To be part of the solution and turn the tide on the toxicity.
In this election season, a hopeful alternative is possible.
There was so much grace and room to listen to one another.
You get to see people as human beings again.
There is reason to hope, not because we agree on all of the issues, but because on the issues that we disagree upon, we still disagree as good people.
This is what democracy looks like.
And they will look back on the work we did today, the work that we did in Kenosha, and across all of these untied states of the United States of America, and say that because these people hope, because they believe the American dream endured for generations to come.
Okay, that sounds good. That's good volume. And then the Peace Pledge by Mama Joy. You got that video? That'll be our first one, then Braver Angels and Superhero.
I'm reading from the Election Peace Pledge. We understand that the strength of our nation mirrors the strength of our families. Just as a child needs both a mother and a father, our country needs all of us, working together, respecting one another, and upholding the principles that unite us. This is not just about the outcome of an election. It's about the values we instill in the next generation and the unity we build in our communities and the future we shape together. Let us take inspiration from our family bonds, recognizing that our nation's health begins at home. And by promoting fair elections, rejecting violence, and accepting the results, we honor the legacy of those who have fought to secure our freedoms. We can transform our challenges into opportunities for healing and growth. The American family is not just a concept. It's the living, breathing heart of our country. As we come together for America's family reunion, let's remember that our greatest strength lies in our ability to heal, to forgive, and to build a future that reflects the best of who we are. So let us pledge peace for the sake of the American family and finally begin to heal the wounds that have divided us since the Civil War.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, welcome to our American Family Reunion podcast. We're back here on another week, and we've had a lot happen since the last Wednesday. We're going to talk a little bit about those subjects tonight. Just give a little, if you're watching us on Facebook or YouTube, we welcome you. And this Peace Pledge movement and this movement for peace started back in February of this year when myself and two other folks up in Ohio and Kentucky were very concerned that whoever won on November 5th, there might be political violence on either side. And so we were concerned, and we worked on putting this peace pledge together, and that we just saw the video on. And we've gathered different members from around the country. And every week we have different viewpoints on different topics. And tonight we're going to be talking about, there's two storms brewing our country. We have the political storm, the presidential election, and the politics, but then we also had the Hurricane Helene, and what does that mean, and how can we kind of weather the storm? Mama Joy, something came to me earlier that, well, we're heavenly stormtroopers.
Heavenly storm, that's a new one.
We're heavenly stormtroopers since we're fighting two storms. So Mama Joy is the mama of our peace movement. Why don't you introduce your guests, and then we can, talk about the political storm, and then the second half we'll get into some of the after effects of storm and preparation and things people need to do to prepare. Shucks, and you brought up something earlier, the the strike of the dock workers, wow, that's already created
It's
people
a
are
triple
already
deal happening in America. We're being
yep.
hit from all sides. That's the
So we thought we only had
financial,
two.
political, and through
Now we have
nature.
another storm. Yep.
Mhm. Well, hey, thank you so very much, Peter, for giving us that little peeks of letting us know just exactly how this came about and how we're working together. And as you can see, we're still formulating and we're still growing. But we know we have a message, but it's like we're not going to sit still and just let the message pass us. We're just going to work it out until we get it right. And so I'm really, really honored to have two awesome people. I've got my buddy here, started off as a plumber with me, helping me through a lot of things here in my home. And then later find out that he is a medical assistant. He's an advisor for disaster, but he has his son that he's been caring for. So, and the community advocate is very, very strong community advocate in the Chicago public school system. So he is a children advocate. In fact, this is where I swing over to Dion, my niece, who is in California, and she has made a place for herself, a reputation is what I mean. A reputation for herself as one who bridged relationships between parents and teachers. And she's founded some organizations that support that. And now she's out in LA furthering her studies and doing all kind of creative arts and crafts and whatever. So, and she's also a survivor of Katrina, that hurricane. And so we're going to get a survivor here and then let her tell us, share her story, however way she wants to do that. And then we'll get to Guy because we don't want to, hold her up that much, but because she's still
Absolutely.
doing
Wonderful.
something. So these are my two people, love them dearly, and have played a role in my life with helping me move forward and improving. So thank
Wonderful.
you.
Wonderful. So before we start with the first storm, we're talking about political storm. We have a really awesome video of an organization called Braver Angels
Oh
that are doing
yeah.
exactly what we're trying to do. So we're networking with them. We're going to see their video. What they've done for 7 years is brought together Democrats and Republicans, conservatives, and liberals, get them to sit down and be, discuss because so much of the division is because we just don't know each other. We think we know each other, but when you get a chance to put people with differing opinions, as long as we're honest and respectful to each other, that's what America's about. And we're kind of gotten away from that, especially in politics. Everything seems to be, battle and fighting back and forth. So let's go ahead and watch the video from the organization Braver Angels.
Braver Angels, yeah. Okay. So while Sharam's getting that together, and we wouldn't not have known anything about him had we not stepped out ourselves. Here they are.
Yep.
I'm leaving this place with a sense of grace and hope for our future and our nation.
There is reason to be hopeful in our country today.
In today's political climate, to be in a group like this, it's just amazing.
We want to reduce that polarization, bring people together.
To be part of the solution and turn the tide on the toxicity.
In this election season, a hopeful alternative is possible.
There was so much grace and room to listen to one another.
You get to see people as human beings again.
There is reason to hope, not because we agree on all of the issues, but because on the issues that we disagree upon, we still disagree as good people.
This is what democracy looks like.
And they will look back on the work we did today, the work that we did in Kenosha, and across all of these untied states of the United States of America, and say that because these people hope, because they believe, the American dream endured for generations to come.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah, and as we say, we didn't really discover these people until just last week. And we said, my goodness, there's somebody doing just what we're attempting to do. And they're much more refined, of course, because they've been doing it for 7 years. Have you, either of you heard of them before? Braver Angels? Yeah, that's it.
No.
This is a huge country, so you got to get out there in the flow, and that's how you learn. That's how you learn.
Exactly. What about the
So,
debate last night? If the
you're
vice
muted,
president,
Peter.
can
Unmute
you hear
yourself.
me?
There you go. Thanks.
Yeah, so we were mentioning that the debate last night, vice presidential, was, in my opinion, was much better than the Trump Biden debate and the Trump Harris. They actually respected each other and talked about, and so that was very hopeful for what we're talking about. That people can come from different opinions and backgrounds, and debate and discuss, and we're certainly not going to agree on everything because how many of us, our spouses or our kids, agree on everything? So, but if we're respectful, so that was very encouraging because people were a little depressed after the first two debates, attacking each other, and it was like, my goodness. So, what was your thought, Mama Joy, and the rest of the team about what you saw last night? And are we hopeful that we can, kind of chill down the political divide and acrimony that we see sometimes?
Well, that's one thing you can't really say too strongly as to you can't change people's opinions. If a person comes in, they're going to be fixed on whatever they want to believe, whatever they want to hear, and if they've made their choice of who they want, there's no change in it. They just want to see how they perform, you know. And
Yep.
and because of the way that these two parties came into the arena before the American people, was a way that we as citizens have never ever experienced that before. There was really no previous debating of others contestants. We even had like what's his name, Kennedy there. And I was leaning towards him, but then all of a sudden, bam, you got Trump and Harris before us. I mean, did the people really? Did the people really have a choice? Were the people really involved in this process? The process didn't even go as naturally as we have in the past. So last
Yeah.
night I saw Vance. He was very prepared. I saw Walt standing and attempting to get himself into position to be able to respond to this young man who was moving really swiftly, and so I appreciated, as you said, the respect, but I also know that there's a lot to consider, and I'm happy that there was a degree of peace and respect to make the election possibly a peaceful process. But as I said, we got some people that's already got their minds fixed, and so we just have to be clear with what our message is and what it is that we're expecting for ourselves, and encouraging and promoting others to do likewise. And that is to
Yeah.
be true Americans and accept the process as it, whatever, however way it comes out. What are your thoughts, Guy? Unmute. You're muted.
Well, basically, I thought they were very respectful to each other, and at some points they were even agreeing with each other. But like you say, some people have their minds fixed on what they want, this, that, and other. And really, I don't get off into politics that much because, like you said, you talk to the wrong person. Next thing you know, you got conflict, and I try to avoid conflict as much as I can. Okay, so but no, I enjoyed it. I watched it.
Mm-hmm.
This year was the first year I ever watched the debates. I've never paid attention to them.
Oh wow.
My family was deep in politics. I stayed away from them. So I had an uncle that was alderman here in Chicago, and but I always stayed away from politics because No, I don't like the conflict. I hope everything goes fine. The only person I really heard make a threat about something with the election actually was Trump. When I'd say a bloodbath or something if he lost. And then next thing I know, somebody started saying that the Democrats said that. I don't know. It's some things I just roll with to see what happens. And like like you were saying, people have a right to like who they like and vote for who they want to vote for. That's their right. You don't, try to change their mind. Your mind is set already. So that's it.
Okay, Dee Dee, what's your thought? Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with Guy. They were very respectful of each other, and because I was thrown into that arena when I was married, the political arena, I didn't really care for it because it's a facade. They put on these shows, if you will, for the American people, and we just have to accept it, at face value, at what we see. So what we saw, or what I saw last night, was hopeful. Gave me some sense of hope, but there you have it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. One of the things, Peter, I didn't know she was going to go into that arena, but she was in New Orleans during Katrina. And there was another political climate, because I think we touched on it last night as to how the politics played in New Orleans in that hurricane. And if has anyone noticed any political intervention here in this catastrophe that's happening, here in America now, those 6 states that were affected by Hurricane Helene.
Yeah, the second storm. So that's a good intro. So the second storm, major storm we've seen in America since last week, is the Hurricane Helene. And we're excited that Dee Dee and Stephen put their input. It is one of the worst storms in our history. Not the strongest storm, but it was so wide, it just literally impacted 6 states. And one thing Mama Joy and I spoke about yesterday and today too is that, unfortunately, why does it take disasters like this or 9/11 to really pull the American family back together? It's a tragedy, but when disasters hit, people do tend, the best of people comes out, but the worst of people could come out as well. But more and more, the best of people come out helping your neighbors and helping those in need. And then we talked recently the last couple of weeks.
Wow.
Pinellas County, that's near St. Pete and Clearwater area.
Yeah. Thank you.
One thing interesting about Katrina, just when you mentioned governance, that was such a disaster that FEMA, the whole country, revamped everything. They started pre-positioning a lot more supplies. We were totally caught off guard, and the governance in both Louisiana and on a federal level was pretty atrocious. But Dee Dee, you were there, and why don't you share your experience with Katrina and how it relates to what some of these folks are going through right now?
Yeah, well, that's a mouthful, but I'll start the year before, because it was the year before that gave us a blueprint to move the way we moved for Katrina. And the year before, there was a storm. I can't remember what the name of it was yet, but we evacuated, and literally we were at a gridlock, and we watched the sun rise and set on the interstate. You heard babies crying. You were going nowhere. It's dark. I've got my young child with me. We had the dog with us at the time. When we did get to a gas station, they were all full. You got to go to the bathroom. The lines it's just unbelievable in your mind. You have it normally takes, we were headed to Houston, so it normally takes you about 8 hours. We got there in 18. So when Hurricane Katrina, when it came time to pack up, if you will, I was headed to work. We had not made a decision yet whether or not we would leave. So I went to work, and they started sending out the notices saying, first of all, I stopped and got gas. Something said, stop and gas up the car before you head out to work. So head to work. The memos start coming in about moving stuff off of the floor and preparing to leave campus. So with that being said, we did. And
So you had to move everything off the floor.
We were in, our particular office was in a basement area. I was at Tulane University at the time. And so, computer equipment, all of that, had to be moved up as far as we could manage. Okay. And then go home and try to figure out, okay, am I leaving? What am I doing? Picking up my child from daycare, because at that point, the schools weren't closed. We knew that we needed to make a decision before the storm got to us, before that window started to close. And we did. We made a decision to leave. So I get home, we start, moving moving stuff up as best we can, figure out what are we going to take. We decided to take one vehicle rather than taking them all. The vehicle that was higher off the ground. Just all of these things that go through your mind. Make some sandwiches for the road. And they laugh at me, even to a few years ago. Anytime we would go somewhere, I'm making sandwiches. Mama, did you make the sandwiches? My daughter's reminding me. So it's a lasting effect.
That's a Louisiana thing.
Did you make the sandwiches, for the road? But literally all of that came in handy because you don't know what the road is going to have in store for you. So you pack what you think you need. Take pictures in the house of each room. You take your important documents, of course, your insurance documents. You want to have those with you, whatever it is about the house. And pack some clothes and get out. So we head out. with the dog, with the cat now, leave the fish behind. And we head out to, I want to say our first stop was, oh my goodness. It was either in Mississippi originally, okay? And from there, we stopped somewhere between there and Texas because we had to go back across.
Were you experiencing anything with the winds? Was there anything happening that
Nothing
alluded to you?
calm, sunshine. It doesn't look like anything. That's just typical.
Mhm.
Typical, weather. It looks like nothing is about to happen.
So when did you get caught into the thick of it? How was that? Because then I know,
Um,
we're from New Orleans and we have a lot of hurricanes, but I
right.
know that
M-
that you
My
really had
yeah,
experiences, and I guess I'm
my
hearing.
first.
I was wondering, with that going on,
Mhm.
how how does this hurricane? Do you sense anything going on with you, or how long does it take for you once you've gone through this to really get over that? When is it over?
I don't know if it's ever really over. Just seeing those pictures just now was triggering. I don't watch it. Um, it's upsetting. Because I've been there, and after after that, we moved to Baton Rouge after Hurricane Katrina. We moved to Baton Rouge. In Baton Rouge, they had the 100-year flood. It hadn't flooded there in 100 years. We were in that total loss again.
Wow.
Okay, just to put things in perspective. All right. So, um, yeah. Um, Seeing the images, I can't going back into the aftermath is just like experiencing death.
Hmm.
Um, you lose a loved one. You don't feel like you just lost your house. You lost your community. You lost your family, everything,
Hmm.
because everybody was dispersed.
Yeah.
The community, the family that you did have there, um, everybody is gone in all different directions. Not to mention the memorabilia that you had, the pictures that you had of your family.
Mm.
All of that is lost. Things that may have been passed down from generations
Mm.
is now gone.
Mm.
So, in my mentally, I don't have a hold on things the way I do. Um, I have switched to um, bonding more with the individuals that I serve and really trying to make a connection with family
Mm.
and not so much holding on to things,
Mm.
which is why I made a complete transition from the South, from the Bayou out here to the Gold Coast. Um, I want to be able to experience the different cultures, um, experience the land, and um, just be a resource to the people that are around me that I come in contact with. If I can do that, my job is done.
Great.
That's where I am.
Wonderful. I was thinking, Mom, Stephen, so tell us a little bit about the work you do and communities, and, every city has some tragedy or disaster at a time. Tell us some of the work you do and following up. And one question for all of us going forward is, we thought about this. If you're in a disaster, well, the one thing that you would take from your house, what would that be? That's an interesting question.
Who, me?
All of us, but that could be a follow-up question. But tell us a little bit about the work you do in Chicago with the community.
Okay, I've started out mentoring children, young men out of Inglewood and areas like that who everybody had forgotten about. And that was in 2004. And so we ended up showing the city how smart to use an organization called Concerned Christian Men. It still exists, but I've been busy with my grandson. So I had to stop that. But we sent children to be exchange students in China, things like that. We would have oratory contests. We taught them how to write essays, and we set up stock market competitions with them just to teach them things they normally wouldn't learn. And then so we ended up, I think I mentored about 800 boys before I stopped. And every year we had a summer camp for a week. We would go up to a little camp in Michigan that was totally rural. We slept in log cabins, and some of them had never been out of their neighborhood. So that was really something to them. And then years ago, I was a teacher for medical assistants, phlebotomists, and EKG technicians. So then I ended up, when they started closing schools in Chicago, I ended up being sponsored by the American Federation of Teachers, the Illinois Federation of Teachers. I worked with an organization here called Kenwood Oakland Community Organization. I worked with Action Now and various different organizations. I traveled around the country talking to people. I was even in Louisiana after Katrina. And, with their school system, because what they did to their school system was terrible. They had them going to school. The school, basically, the thing they had was trays, looked like a prison or a jail, and so then, like Philadelphia, I've been all over the country, speaking about education. So then, like after I had to stop doing that, that's when I was doing my plumbing business. And from there, in 2020, when COVID hit, I renewed for my medical license, and I was with the first mobile emergency response team for COVID vaccination and testing, and in the city of Chicago. So we were out there with boots on the ground, going into places, shelters, some everything, hospitals, senior buildings, community buildings, giving vaccinations. We even sometimes went to senior citizens' homes and gave them vaccinations for COVID. Then that started slowing up. Then Mpox hit. So we were doing vaccinations for Mpox. Then just last year, there were 2 or 3 other outbreaks in Chicago that most people don't know about. We were always the first ones in. So I've got my mother and my grandson, so I'm taking the chance of bringing this home with me. So I was doing that. Then our team, when everything slowed down some, they turned us into what they call the strike team for the city of Chicago. Whereas if anything happened, we were the first ones in. Now, let's speak on the migrant crisis. That started, actually, people don't know it, in August 15th of 2022.
Wow.
So we were working with them. We were just spending time with them and giving them vaccinations or whatever they needed, information they needed. And even a little situation with a little boy, which kind of angered me. He died at this one shelter, and they made it seem like it was the the complex's fault, and it wasn't. Even the mother said, and they played on the news one time, that he was already sick when he came there. You know, he died of sepsis, but they played that on the news one time. And then I heard the alderman last night saying that there were 2,000 people in that encampment. No, there were 5,000 people there.
Wow.
I know because I was there.
Oh. Oh.
I wasn't supposed to, but I have some pictures that I took. And it's like you had to walk down a 3-foot area to get through because there were mattresses on the floor everywhere. And this was a warehouse, a multi-story warehouse. So that's basically what I dedicated myself to, is helping people that be in need.
Wow.
You know. Then we started working with the homeless here in Chicago, and yeah, you name it, we were doing it. We were out there mobile. We were never in the same place every day. We were somewhere different every day. You know, we were at O'Hare when they were bringing them into there. We would check them there, and then they had a place called the Landing Zone. We would go there once or twice a week. But and what you have up there right now, there's another sheet. I've had this for years. At my grandson's elementary school, I gave this to all the parents. Make sure they got it. But there's another sheet with little cards where you write names, information, contact persons, and everything, medications. I'm trying to find that one so I can get that one to Mama Joy. But basically, that's what my job has been. You know, it's just helping people that need to be helped.
Absolutely.
You know, because
so our theme, our theme for the last couple of weeks is our neighbors are our first responders. And what you're talking about is very much that you're a little first responder, but you know that builds upon our theme of our neighbors are our first responders when it push comes to shove.
What I was trying to do in my other neighborhood was get everybody to get together so we could get what's called the CERT team, and the government will come in and train the people in the neighborhood in case of a disaster exactly what to do. Because if you don't do the right thing, you can get hurt.
You call it a what team?
CERT, Community Emergency Response Team. Yeah. And they'll come in if you get at least 8 to 12 people, they'll come in and train them.
That's good to know.
They'll train them. I've been trained in mental health first aid. I'm a mandated reporter. Well, of course, infection control, but first aid. You know.
Well, you know, this is really great. This is really great, and I think it's important if we can get that information out to people, particularly in a time like this, when you can see that you've got 6 states that's been impacted, and that phrase that was on this card, what it says, "Are you ready?"
Right, exactly.
Diane was saying, you know, hey, she prepared and got the sandwiches and all of these kinds of things, but did she really know? Was she really ready for what the end brought?
I agree with her because every time I go anywhere in the car, I make me some sandwiches. I'm not dependent. I'm gonna be in the car more than 2 hours. I gotta have some sandwiches.
I knew we had a lot in common.
Yeah. You know, another thing that's for the people here right now. They have these little things called fire safes, and they're look like little suitcases. Everybody should have one of those, and you keep your important documents in there. Therefore, if it's time and you have to leave, you just grab that fire safe. They have locks on them, and that's it. You got everything right there.
Yeah, fire, right.
Because in my fire safe, I have another little lockbox with my credit cards in it because I only carry one. So all of that is in one spot.
In other words, be prepared and be ready.
Yes.
A fire safe. Wow, that's amazing. I want to read this text I got from someone about this very issue. And it was from a friend who works at Homeland Security. And she said they are expecting this to happen based on the strike. So as reported by CBS, NPR, The Washington Post, and others, for the longshoremen are preparing to go on strike starting yesterday. please do what you can to buy the essential items for your home, like toilet tissue, paper towel, soap, bleach, rice, canned goods, water, frozen vegetables, medical supplies, batteries, fruit, candles, laundry products. If you have any prescriptions, try to get them filled before Tuesday because there could be a problem getting meds while they're on strike.
I already have all the stuff.
Good.
Well, you're ready. I had a friend of mine call and she said, Joy, she said, you better get to the store. I said, get to the store. Why? She said, I did my shopping. She said, the shelves, people are snatching things off the shelves. And she said, I got in a line and I was in the line for 45 minutes. She said, because people had two carts filled with water, filled with toilet tissue. Already there's a panic going on. So Peter, it's something and once that fight goes into action, it's difficult to stop it, but we just have to be, if you're prepared, praise God, but if not, move, but always be in consideration of others, because the last time when COVID was here, I couldn't find toilet tissue, couldn't find alcohol,
paper towels.
Yeah,
I didn't understand that. It was like I just
why toilet paper? Yeah, why a run on toilet paper?
Yeah,
right.
I was wondering,
and that was the first thing that went off off the shelves was there was no toilet paper in town.
No toilet paper.
And most people don't understand that when you're prepping, and just in case something happens, you don't buy perishable food. You buy, if you don't eat it, I'm sorry. You buy stuff like Spam, and things like that. People. I've seen people talking about they preparing to get snowed in, and they go buy a bunch of meat. It's like, what if the electricity goes out?
Yeah.
School us on that, guy. What kind of food should we have to prepare?
You should definitely have canned food. Anything
Canned
that is
food,
going
canned
to
goods.
last. Yeah.
Yeah, canned goods.
Your
Things
tuna
that ain't
fish,
cans.
if you gotta have meat, your tuna fish, like he said, if you eat Spam,
Right.
those little Vienna sausages, stuff that you would normally eat.
But you gotta use some water to rinse those salty sausages off with.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's like we had a power outage over here, and it lasted, I think, 3 days.
Wow.
This was back in the summer.
Yep.
And so as soon as the power went out, I have oil lamps, and I keep the oil for them. So I went and got those, lit them. That was all right.
Yeah.
When it got dark, I light the lamps, and I had lights all through the house.
So what, you had generators?
No, I have oil lamps.
Well, what about the refrigeration?
Just leave it closed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just leave it closed, because if you open it, every time you open it, the coldness of the heat goes in there.
Yeah.
Just leave it closed. Same with the freezer. It's just eat off the shelf, get you some beans and cook you some. I even have portable stoves.
Wow.
To run on butane.
There you go.
And the grill, if you had grill, you just go out and grill everything.
You can light that grill and put a skillet on and cook breakfast.
Yep.
Well, I know now.
Yeah, Mama Joy, we heard from Norm Davis, one of our partners, and he's got a farm and he's got all that stuff and generators, like you said, and and canning. We talked about the canning used to be an art every family knew how to do back in the day. That would be a good idea to teach people how to do modern day canning, because you can can meats and vegetables and stuff that last you for 10, 15, 25 years if you do it right.
A lot of people don't know you could prep now, and what you do is you rotate the stock in your cabinets. You rotate it, so you always have it. Keep dry beans, all types.
All kind.
Keep those. Buy your rice 5-10 pounds at a time.
Yeah.
It's
Rice and
inconvenient for most people, but my grandson was losing it because he couldn't get on the internet. So we sat down and started having conversations, and I said, "Well, see, you had experience most of your friends have."
Yeah.
and we ended up just having conversations about things.
That you wouldn't have normally.
Right. Because he couldn't play his PlayStation. So,
Yes.
But he had you. So that worked out. That worked out well. And that goes back to the family, because that's something else that we are promoting to more time with family, valuing that time with family. Because when all of these things are with us, we don't take time and value the preciousness of and the value of each other.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yep.
That's
And
right.
as Dion was saying, that the memories that are lost, pictures and whatever, And then I think you made a comment too, Dion. You said you came back feeling a greater worth for people.
Mm-hmm.
And
Most definitely.
that answers the question. It said, what was the question was, why does it take disasters? Why does when disasters come that we get closer together, we work together? And I think that that's part of the norm that happens when you realize that we need each other.
You don't have neighborhoods anymore.
Yeah, that's
There you go.
You don't have neighborhoods. The family doesn't sit down at 5 or 6 o'clock and eat dinner anymore. Okay. See, people don't understand that it's the little things that count.
Yeah.
Yes.
All this glitter and glamour and these fancy things actually mean nothing. I try to live a very simple life. And it's, whenever something happens, I'm able to deal with it. When I was younger, everybody was saying, you got all these gadgets and this, that, and other, but if the power went out or something happened, okay, I even have propane heaters, the ones you can use in your house. But then every time something happens, I pull out my so-called gadgets. Everybody appreciates them then.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's great.
Now I have a little stove that's amazing. You know how you see the little warmers that you put under, have a part and you put under your food?
Yeah.
This thing, you put one in there and you can put a pot on it, just a certain size pot, and you can cook. It's a little stove. And then I have the ones that you can run on gasoline, you pump it up and it works that way. Then I have the ones that work on butane. So, you have to be prepared because you never know what's going to happen. It's like I tell folks, what are y'all going to do when the internet goes down? Because it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
That's something right. How do we communicate? How are we going to be able to communicate?
Smoke signals. I have radios.
There you go.
I have radios. My brothers have them. The ham radios. The portable.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And
But
Dion,
it's
you mentioned about excuse me. So you mentioned about bonding. You learned to bond better. Tell us a little bit about that with family members or neighbors, because instead of bonding, getting closer, there's key people rather than having a lot of artificial relationships, right?
Yeah.
Or superficial.
Exactly. It just make you more mindful. Have you checked on this person? Have you reached out to them? Have you called? Who? Let me make a list. Who should I, call and check in with? And you find, that will keep you pretty busy, because we have quite. We were a close-knit family. It was a lot of us, and we had a place to congregate all in one spot.
Yeah.
But once that disaster struck, that was no more. So it just really shifts my mindset to just be more intentional about in making making time.
Yeah. Yeah.
In making family a priority, and those people who have helped me along the way, making those people a priority as I move forward, to never take them for granted.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the old saying say you never miss your water till the well runs dry. We take relationships for granted, and when that happens, we don't realize that we become less human. You know, and I have this principle here. It says that shared humanity over politics.
Yeah.
Encourages transcending political divides to focus on shared human values. We've got to bring those human values into the politics. We've forgotten what citizenship is. We've forgotten that we need each other even to make a difference in this climate and beyond this election. We've lost a lot, and we need to, well, I can't say we need to do anything, but there is a need for those who feel the calling to be able to enable restoration to take place in our nation. And one of the things that we can do is just start right where we live, right in our community, and share that information. Yeah, and even if the internet goes down, and we know it's going to go down, let's prepare for that. One of the things I noticed with Katrina that I know would have made a difference is if they understood the power of block clubs, having that phone tree. New Orleans was very just loose, very loose. You had tight communities, but we were just floating. We weren't accountable in a way. Hey, if something happens, have a phone tree. Let's keep in touch. And but here we had block clubs. I had never heard of block clubs. I'd never heard of that until I came to Chicago, and I used that design in order to build a protective room or tribe for my children here. Deanne lived with me for a while, and she knows that even when we were on Saginaw, we were very conscious about bonding. And so we made a difference there, even though, with the block club, we always want to be a part of a group setting so that we can be of influence and impactful. So I like to see that. And that's something I think eventually it's going to go back. And we operated in the spirit of family. But those block clubs, connecting, organizing is very, very important because, if you got all that stuff over there, Guy, I know you got your shotguns. It'll be on there. Yeah. So we want to be able to come together and teach each other and share this information because we do need each other, and that's the way we've been created.
Yes, absolutely.
We're created for each other.
One thing that I find that's amazing is, you talk to people about like the topics we're talking about, and the first thing that comes out of their mouth is, I don't have time for that. I deal with that when it happens. Then when it does happen, they don't know how to deal with it. They think they do. It's like when you have a disaster drill. You had this drill and it's a drill. So, you go along with everything. But when it happens in real time, your brain jumps into survival mode.
Yeah.
And all that goes out the window. Yeah. And people that, I deal with that when it happens. Oh, okay. Have you ever been through it before? No, but how do you know you're gonna know how to deal with it? I'm listening to this young lady talk, and I'm looking at how how traumatized she is from Katrina. But at the same time, when I would be talking to people, I would tell somebody, we would have conversations, and somebody said, well, that was nothing. This happened. Hold it. You could have a person that trauma affects people differently.
Yeah.
You never get over it. Okay. It's just what I have done is you make peace with it.
Mm-hmm.
See,
Yes.
See, because if you keep trying to reject it, it makes it worse.
Yes.
Yeah.
See, so when you have traumatic things that have happened or you've seen, you have to make peace with it.
Make peace.
Yep.
And people, because at one point I was about to ask her to stop even talking about, and people don't understand that it's different levels, and you might have somebody that could be traumatized because they lost their phone, and they can go through a full mental breakdown. But then you can have a person that's been through something like this young lady, and it can affect both of them the same. It's weird. It's just, it depends on the person, and the strengths and the weaknesses they have.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good point, Stephen. So we're going to add psychologists to your resume. Those are good words of wisdom. Well, I'll tell you what, and you're on your flyer, on the bottom said be a hero. So we're going to see a really phenomenal video right now.
Okay.
And it's called Superhero to close out our podcast for tonight. Really appreciate everyone, panelists, and also listening audience. So the great thing that, and we talked about earlier, we'll talk about another time, Dr. King's famous quote, everybody can be great because everybody can serve. Well, guess what? We can all be superheroes. So
We
let's
can
go
all be
ahead.
superheroes.
Yeah.
And thank you all. Yeah.
And here's a picture
Thank you for
of the
inviting
blog
me.
club that Mama Joy was talking about. These are blog clubs. They have these signs each blog, and then they all come up with different designs, and
Wonderful.
It's very interesting. Okay, so you want to do the other one?
Yeah, let's close out with the superhero. One other quote that's very you've probably heard before: people don't plan to fail, but they fail to plan.
To plan. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
People don't plan to fail, but they fail to plan. Like the same.
So this is Nemo Patel, one of our
thank
friends.
you for coming on.
Okay.
Yeah, I was saying, if you haven't heard this artist before, his name is Nemo Patel.
Enlarge your screen, press the button.
So much pain, and though I can't fly, I can do my little part here before I die. Yeah, brother, I may not win the Nobel Prize, but at least I can try.
Need more volume.
More kind, spend a little more time in my change my life. Yeah, like giving a hug when somebody is down there.
Need more volume.
Small things that can change the sound and the vibe of the spirit that can change the town. Started small, now it's touched the crowd. The crowd is growing, now the word is out that if we all do our parts, we can touch the clouds. Without a cape and a mask, we can touch the clouds. Yeah. We don't have to leap tall buildings in a single round. There's a lot of good that we can do sitting on the ground. We don't need a jetpack suit to take us to the clouds. It's up to me and you. Right here, right now, superhero, na 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 na, superhero, whoa, 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 whoa. things that make a difference. And all the power's locked within us. All we gotta do is find the key and turn the latch and set it free. Yeah, we don't need to be fast and strong, cause a kind word can go a long way. Help someone whose faith is gone to get back up and carry on. Maybe it's too hard to understand, think it's too much for us to handle, but I promise you that you can, cause you don't need to be a Superman. Right here and now, you are a superhero. We don't have to leap tall buildings in a single bound. There's a lot of good that we can do. We don't need a jetpack suit to take us to the cloud. It's up to me and you. Giving us hope when somebody is down, feeding us hope when there's nobody around. Small things that can change the sound, and the vibe of this bird that can change a town. And started small, then we touch the crowd. The crowd is growing, now the word is out that if we all do our parts, we can touch the cloud. Without a cape and a mask, we can touch the clouds. Yeah.
Wow.
That's some good stuff, isn't it? So little stuff, be a
It really
superhero.
is.
You don't have to have that cape like Superman. You know, the simple act of being an act of kindness and being compassionate to your neighbor. All right, great. Well, we appreciate everyone coming to our version of our American Family Reunion. Come back and join us next Wednesday at 8 p.m. And we thank you so much, Dion and Stephen and Mom Boy. And we just pray for everyone to have a great week listening. And let's bring some peace in the world, peace in our neighborhood, and peace in our own hearts and mind, right?
Right.
Thank you very much.
Of America, our family stands tall. Bonds of love and unity, holding us all. In the heart of America, our family stands tall. Bonds of love and unity, holding us all. We must nurture these ties, our strength to renew, healing the wounds, coming together anew. America's family reunion, a pledge for peace, honoring our legacy, divisions to cease. Through fair elections, accepting the choice, rejecting the violence with one united voice. Yeah. Accepting the choice, rejecting the violence with one united voice. Our grace.
It was good. It was good. Yeah, I had to get the order right.
Yeah. Yeah, the superhero video with the volume was a little low, but otherwise it turned out pretty good.
Well, yeah, that was all the way up. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know if you wanted to. What's going to be the next?
Yeah, next week we'll talk about that. Cheryl will be back. We did want to do her kitchen table